Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Whitney Goodman from Calling Home. I'm still figuring out this platform since I stopped using TikTok and trying to move a little bit away from doing such short form content. I am trying to figure out how to make videos for YouTube. How does that saying go? Done is better than perfect. I don't know. You know what I'm saying. That I am trying to just put something out there that is going to be good for you all, and we will learn as we go. The other thing I've noticed is that if I try to make a script for these videos that I read off of or that I follow, the video is exponentially worse. I just think that I'm better at rambling. So that's what I'm going to do here, and then condense that down for you into something that is something you want to watch. I want to tell you a story about a girl named Alyssa, and this is a client composite. No identifying information is being shared here, and this is a combination of several people that I have worked with throughout my career that followed this similar fact pattern. Now, Alyssa is an adult now, but when Alyssa was a child, her mother was deeply insecure. She was divorced, and her ex-husband, Alyssa's father, had moved on and was now married to another woman. During the course of Alyssa's life, her mother had tons of boyfriends. Her mother would consistently meet people online, and she would go on dates several nights a week, leaving Alyssa with whoever could watch her during the week. Alyssa remembers being dropped off, or she referred to it as being dumped, at her grandparents' house, at a babysitter's house, at a friend's house, constantly, often with very little warning. And sometimes her mother would not come and pick her up in the evening after the date. Alyssa would end up spending the night at these people's houses, sometimes being forced to go to school the next day in the same clothing and not having brushed her teeth or done anything to take care of herself because she didn't know that she wouldn't be coming home that evening. Alyssa's mother also had a lot of partners move in with them throughout the course of her life. And these partners would move in often what seemed like on a whim. Alyssa would come home from school one day and one of them would be living there, and he would immediately integrate himself into the household and feel like he had a parenting role over Alyssa, and that he was allowed to punish, make decisions, set rules, and be a father figure in the house. And sometimes Alyssa had only known these male individuals for a week or two when they moved in. And they would be sitting at the dinner table and present in all of her interactions with her mother. And her mother would still always prioritize these partners over Alyssa. She would give them money even when she didn't have it. She would make excuses for them and make concessions for them. She would not show up places that she was supposed to be for Alyssa when her partner needed something. And often these relationships would be highly volatile and explosive, and they would end dramatically. And Alyssa's mother would be devastated when these men were no longer in her life. She would often be crying, experience depressive episodes until she could move on to another partner. And this is something that played out constantly throughout Alyssa's life, and it made it difficult for her to trust her mother, to feel that she could rely on her, and it also made her very fearful and on edge about what was going to be going on in her home and who was going to be around her, on any given day. And if you can relate to Alyssa's story, then you likely really understand what it means to grow up with someone that we would consider to be a pick-me parent, or someone who is consistently prioritizing their romantic relationships over their children. This is a term that I learned about a while ago on TikTok, and I'm not on there anymore, so I can't find the original creator. But essentially, a pick-me parent is a parent that is constantly putting their romantic partner's needs, wishes, wants in front of their child. And you can think of a parent who is always getting into new relationships, bringing tons of partners around their kids, dropping their kids off places so that they can go on dates, and they're always putting the needs of a romantic partner in front of their child. And so why do people do this? Why would a mother, a father, a parent do this? Well, none of us are immune from feeling insecure, wanting partnership, wanting to be taken care of, and often feeling like we can secure more resources or safety if we find a partner. And for some people, that's true, right? Like, we absolutely cannot deny that there are some legitimate reasons why a parent would be consistently on the lookout for partnership, companionship, or the security that you find in being in a certain type of relationship. Now, that being said, this is not a video for parents. This is not a video that is going to be necessarily the most empathetic towards parents that engage in these patterns. This is a video for adults who experience such as children and are looking for empathy, understanding, and tools to help them work through that. So for those of you that are watching this that might be a parent that did this, might not be the best video for you. And for those of you that are adult children who went through this and are also parents, this might be an eye-opening lens to kind of view your parenting through to make sure that you are not repeating the same patterns with your own children. All right, first things first, what makes a parent a pick-me parent? A pick-me parent is going to be a parent that is consistently putting their romantic partners, whether that's a spouse, a boyfriend, someone that they're interested in, their interests, needs, wants, desires in front of that of their child. And when they are doing this, they are not considering the impact it could have on their children, or they're choosing to ignore that. They're not thinking about how this might feel for their child. And a lot of times they're looking to meet their own needs or to find short-term comfort in that moment through another person. A lot of these parents who engage in these types of patterns are, of course, looking for love, connection, companionship, all that good stuff, but often at the expense of their child's well-being. So what are some signs that you had a pick-me parent, or a parent who always prioritized their romantic relationships over you? The first thing is going to be pretty tangible. You're going to have memories or notice that your parent was always prioritizing their romantic interest needs over your own. So this means consistently making plans with them over you, possibly like forgetting you places, not picking you up on time, dropping you off places so that they could go out with this person, not respecting your wishes at all. So bringing you places where it was not safe for you to be there or comfortable. I told the story at the beginning of the child named Alyssa who experienced something like this. You know, her mom taking her to bars and having her color in the corner, but really thinking about, like, what was my parents' attitude towards forcing me to endure certain situations that were not appropriate for a child because it allowed them to pursue these people or these romantic interests. Your parent may have gotten into a lot of different relationships throughout your lifetime and consistently acted like this person was the one. It was the person that they were going to be with forever, and you needed to get on board and accept them and welcome them into the family. And there was always a lot of pressure put on you to be the one that was okay with this new person coming into the family. It also likely felt like these new relationships came on very quickly or suddenly. So your parent would be meeting someone one or two times, and then suddenly it was for forever. And this person was going to be in your family. And again, you needed to get used to it and welcome them. They also could have put you in a lot of dangerous situations, living with someone who should not have been living around a child, exposing you to substance use, violence, abuse, things like that, all in the name of being around this person because it was the love of their life or the person that they were going to be in a relationship with. The other thing that you might have experienced was a parent who would make a lot of excuses or concessions for this person because they quote unquote loved them. And so this person may have been doing things that were harmful or wrong to you, your siblings, other people, or to your parent themselves. And these things were obvious and clear, and you knew that they were going on, but the parent would consistently make excuses for that person and say things like, oh, they didn't mean to, or they love me, they just had a bad day, they don't always act like that, they said that they were sorry, and you noticed that your reality was always getting denied or substituted with this other form of reality that allowed your parent to keep this partner around. Another sign that may have been a little bit more difficult for some of you to detect is that your parent would invest and put all their resources in the basket of like, this is what is going to help me find a partner and help me find love. And I think a lot of this really comes from a place of wanting security and consistency and a safe home and family for the child. But often the parent doesn't actually know how to pursue that, and they are doing things that are in direct contradiction with those wishes. And so your parent may have been really invested in looking a certain way, being able to dress a certain way, go certain places, expose themselves to certain types of people, all because they felt like that is what gave them the best chance at securing a partner or a mate. And you may have felt like your needs, even things that you wanted, needed for school, clothes that you needed for yourself, were often being pushed aside so that your parent could present a certain way or invest in themselves in a certain way so that they could achieve finding that partner that they desired. So what are the consequences to you of growing up with a parent like this, a parent who is consistently prioritizing their love interests or romantic relationships over you? Of course, it's going to create a lot of instability and inconsistency in your life. You probably had this feeling of like, I don't know what's going to happen next, who is going to be around us, if I'm going to be around someone that is dangerous or threatening. It also makes it very difficult for you to trust yourself, right? Especially if you are having interactions with people who are not safe and who have been harmful to you, and you are being told that that is not actually happening, that you don't need to worry about it, or even that you should endure it and tolerate it because it's what's good for your parent or quote unquote for the family, or because they think that it's not actually happening. The other thing that can, of course, happen here is that you can be open up to situations that can cause lifelong damage and trauma to you. If you are being exposed to people who have substance use issues, addiction issues, who are abusive, who are engaging in dangerous behaviors, who are bringing people into your home that are dangerous to you as the child or the teenager, that can result in lifelong damage and harm to you, both psychologically and physically, and you may still be dealing with the impacts of that in adulthood. Studies have also found that when mothers are going through a lot of different relationship transitions, like breakups, marriages, divorces, that their parenting practices can become harsher. There's also a very large study of over 8,000 children that found that when parents have a lot of different partners, mothers specifically, they're more likely to have antisocial behavior in their children. We also know that children that are exposed to multiple partners through their parents have difficulty trusting others and may develop increased levels of anxiety. So let's talk about what you do if your parent is still exhibiting these behaviors as an adult. Certainly, these behaviors in childhood are very disruptive and can have a huge impact on you, but I've also heard this having a large impact on adult children with their parents in adulthood. And one of the biggest things that comes up is this idea that my parent keeps finding new partners and they want us to just become this big, happy, blended family right away. Or they're expecting that I'm going to hang out with their new partner. I'm going to be a sibling to their children. And the parent really has these totally unrealistic expectations for their adult children when it comes to integrating this person into their life. Or you may also find that your parent is engaging in the same type of patterns where they are dating people who are harmful to them, abusive, and are hurting them. And they want you to like turn a blind eye and say, oh, the relationship's fine. I can tell that you're in love, in the same way that you had to do when you were a child because you had no choice. So what do you do in this situation if you are an adult and your parent is behaving in these same exact ways in adulthood? The first thing I want you to do is to remember, I'm an adult. I don't have to tolerate this in the same way that I did as a child. Does that mean that I'm not going to get triggered in the same way by it? I'm not going to feel emotional. It's not going to really bother me. Absolutely not. But I want you to embody that empowered adult version of yourself that can say, I have options here. I can set boundaries around how I spend my time, what behavior I tolerate, what situations I put myself in. And as difficult and as challenging as it is, I can tell my parent, if you would like to be in this relationship, that's totally fine. But I am not going to participate in the relationship. And obviously, in a lot of situations, you can't say it the way that I said it, but you can control your own behavior and decide when to leave, when to show up, what kinds of conversations to engage in, and what type of behavior you're going to expose you and potentially your partner, your spouse, or your own children to. You can also really come to terms with the fact that your parent is trying to solve a problem in themselves that has nothing to do with you. They are looking for love, security, consistency, affection, control, whatever it is, through these relationships. And you were forced to endure their quest to fix those inner problems as a child. And now as an adult, you can say, I can choose to protect my peace, my physical space, and my emotional health in these ways and not expose myself to this. When you are protecting your own space and peace and setting boundaries, it's also important to recognize that you had no options as a child. Your parent was trying to solve for a problem inside of them that deeply impacted you and likely wounded you emotionally, physically, and mentally as a child while they were doing that. And sometimes you can have conversations with your parent in adulthood about this, right? And sometimes they will understand and they will say, I can totally see how that impacted you. And there are certainly other situations where your parent might say, wasn't that bad? They didn't do that to you. You're making that up. There are even situations, of course, where parents can get jealous about attention that their child received from a partner or continue putting their child in very dangerous situations because it is keeping the partner there. And unfortunately, as therapists, we do hear stories of this type of abuse and mistreatment that happens at the hands of a parent's partner or a step parent being in the home. And there are statistics to back up this reality that unfortunately sometimes when a step parent or a partner moves into the home, they will harm the child. And sometimes the parent of that child will cover up for it and excuse the abuse. And if you went through that, I want you to know that that is a deeply painful, terrible situation that should not have happened to you. And it is your parents' job to protect you, not to put you in harm's way and to continue keeping you there because of their own insecurity and their own desire for love and companionship. Adults who grow up in these types of families or with these types of parents often become adults who can struggle with forming romantic relationships of their own. They may feel like they do not want to identify at all with their parent, and so they choose not to engage in any romantic relationships or to pursue that type of love in any way. They may mimic the patterns of their parent and find themselves really replicating this belief that their partner or potential partner should be put in front of anyone and everything in their life. And then there are some people who really just still struggle with the anxiety, the trauma of growing up in this type of family, and the relationship that they have with their parents today. And they find that all of those things are getting in the way of them pursuing healthy romantic love. And what I can tell you is that you deserve to have healthy, fulfilling relationships without pain. You deserve to feel like you can be in a relationship with someone that you can have while maintaining other aspects of your life, like work, job, family, children, your own hobbies, etc. And I want to help you learn that at Calling Home. For the month of February, we'll be dedicating 4 weeks to helping you process how your family dysfunction is impacting your romantic relationships. And that includes people who are single, dating, engaged, married, and divorced. and people who may not be looking for romantic relationships at all and want to figure out how their family relationships, including their parents' attitudes towards love, have impacted them today. You can join me inside the Family Cycle Breakers Club for the entire month of February, where I will be dedicating 4 weeks to articles, worksheets, videos, and other guides to help you with this issue. We will also have groups every Wednesday inside the Family Cycle Breakers Club to help you dive deeper into this content and meet other people just like you that are going through a similar issue. After you sign up, you will get access to all of the content for February, as well as everything else that we have covered inside the Family Cycle Breakers Club up to this point. I hope to see you there, and please let me know if you have any questions in the comments.